You know, the thing that hurts me the most is that I have to watch the NBA Finals and they have world champion on their head. World champion of what? The United States? Don't get me wrong. I love the U.S. at times, but that ain't the world. That is not the world. We are the world. We have almost every country out here fighting, thriving, putting on their flag to show that they are represented. There ain't no flags in the NBA.
Wow. I did not expect this to be such a fervent debate, and I definitely didn't expect so many NBA players to be remarkably butthurt. Way to wear your hearts on your sleeves, fellas. Tell us how you really feel. So if you aren't familiar with this situation, or don't know who this gentleman is, this is Noah Lyles, an American track and field sprinter who competes in the 100-meter and 200-meter events, and is arguably the fastest man alive right now. This past week, he managed to secure the rare and prestigious triple gold at the World Athletics Championships, winning the 100-meter and 200-meter events, as well as the 4x100-meter relay with the United States. This feat hasn't been done since Usain Bolt in 2015, and admittedly, I have a limited knowledge of the world of track and field athletics, but that dude put up Wilt Chamberlain numbers, so I think it's fair to say that this is a hell of an accomplishment. And after his coveted victory, Lyles used his platform to speak about what it meant to be a world champion, and how others, maybe sorta kinda shouldn't use that title. And the reaction was, well, you saw it. So was he right? Was he wrong? Well, it's time for another classic fence-sitter take of mine, because I think it's both. Kidding, of course, but not really. He is right. Winning the championship title of your league doesn't automatically make you a world champion, even if your league features players from around the globe. I may not know much about track and field, but I do know a lot about football. America, fuck yeah! Not American gridiron football though, sorry guys. I'm talking about the world's game. If we use the international football or soccer world for reference, Noah Lyles is 100% correct. There are top-flight leagues all over Europe, South America, Asia, and none of them don their victors as world champions. Even in the English Premier League, or German Bundesliga, or the Spanish La Liga, which are almost universally seen as the most elite even among the upper echelon, their champions only capture a league title year in and year out. So that's that then, yeah? I mean, despite a franchise in Canada and possible expansion into Mexico in the near future, the NBA is a domestic league. The champions of the NBA every year have to play the best teams in the NBA, not the world, right? Well, that's where Lyles is also wrong. The NBA is unlike any other professional sports league in the world. See, whereas the Premier League or La Liga might stand atop as the very best football league in the world, the margin between them and the rest of the top leagues isn't large enough to the point that the other ones suddenly don't matter. There's no mutual agreement that one league is just flat out better than the rest, and whichever it actually is can change depending on the given season. That being said, the gap between the NBA and the next best basketball league is so large that this principle might not hold up. This isn't intended as a diss towards international basketball. I love the game overseas, but when we talk about the cream of the crop talent, there's really only one place seemingly all of it tends to gravitate to. The game is a bit different in Europe, and FIBA has slightly different rules as well, but the point remains. A good way to get this is by looking at America's NFL. To call the NFL the league with the best gridiron football players would be a bit of an understatement. Almost no other leagues exist outside of North America, and that's no shade to the China Arena Football League, which I found out about while researching for this video and looks lit, but winning in the NFL is ostensibly becoming a world champion. Except, here's what I think the NFL is missing. I'm kind of a firm believer that you can't just make up your own game and then call yourselves the world champions of it, which is what the NFL does. American football is admired worldwide, but its presence is almost non-existent outside of North America. Basketball, however, is a truly global game.
He will do it nicely.
My goodness.
In the final seconds, the buzzer has rung. Japan has made history. They have defeated their first European squad this evening in World Cup action.
That's what I'm talking about.
Wins by 10.
This shit means something to me, man.
It may have been invented in the US, but the sport holds a rich history all over the world. This is the Argentine team that won the first ever FIBA World Cup in 1950. Winning at home in Buenos Aires, they bested the United States with an eye-popping score of 64-50. This is just 3 years after the NBA's inaugural season. And here's the US team beating Argentina 2 years earlier at the 1948 Olympics. Hell, I can go further back too. Basketball's Olympic debut was at the Berlin Summer Games in 1936. The Eurobasket, also known as the European Basketball Championship, was founded in 1935. That's 12 years before the start of the NBA. FIBA was founded 3 years earlier in 1932, and the first international game of basketball was played in St. Petersburg, Russia in 1909. In 1893, just 2 years after the very game of basketball was invented by James Naismith, students of his and alum of Springfield College, then known as the International YMCA Training School, departed to share the sport to the world. The game was brought to France, China, India, Japan, Persia. Needless to say, this sport has been global almost since its inception. So the NBA isn't the best league in the world by default. It's the best league in the world by consensus. The NBA didn't corner the market on its own game and then crown themselves kings of it. They've been the place to be since the very beginning. And this is where I think Noah Lyles missed the mark. Sure, if you want to get out a pen and paper and write down the literal definition of world champion, then fine. Be all technical about it. You are right. The only ones who are literally the champions of the world are the teams that nations send to the World Cup or the Olympics. But I don't think anyone was really arguing that, and it's pretty apparent that's not the reason they consider themselves world champions, so I'm asking you to look a bit further into the why. Of course there's a heavy dose of American exceptionalism in the argument, and I'm not denying the lack of perspective so many goddamn Americans have, but I do think the NBA is a bit different than the rest. You can't compare the NBA to any other league in any other sport. There has never been a game as global as basketball, with a singular league that is as dominant or influential as the NBA. So what do you do when there's a sport that's played everywhere, but has one league more impactful and with more control over the evolution of the game than anywhere else put together? Well, I think you let them call it what they want. And also, cause who gives a f***? The people who scoff at an American league calling themselves world champions are still gonna do that. I bet you'll be real shocked to find out that they've been doing that way before this debate was even brought to the mainstream. And at least as far as basketball goes, if you want to prove you're the best in the world, everyone knows where you have to win. So yeah, I hope I did a good job showing why this debate is kinda dumb to begin with, but how the NBA players might actually have a case for their argument. I also really hope I didn't come across like I was blindly shitting on the international game. I know I already made a comment earlier, but I was laying on the NBA love pretty hard there, and it's not because I don't value the game elsewhere. I love watching the sport grow in other places. The FIBA World Cup, for example, has been so fun to watch, at least for the games that I can will myself to get up at 4 a.m. for. Nonetheless, I really believe that if you love the game, you've got to support it everywhere, even if it doesn't look or feel the same as what we've all grown accustomed to with the NBA. It benefits the sport and even the NBA in the long run. So watch the World Cup, watch the EuroLeague, watch the WNBA, watch Dwight Howard's goddamn team in Thailand, because the game is amazing everywhere. You're not a monster if you just watch the NBA, but you also won't have much room to talk if for some reason you think the game isn't worth shit in other places, because that's just plain wrong. I hope you all enjoyed this video. I'm working on a few others right now, super excited for all that. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, take care.